Hi everyone, and welcome to Template Editing Part 1 Page Setup. Now, before we can start actually applying the editable fields and creating the templates inside the template editor, what we need to do is we first need to create a couple of base files that are going to give us the basis for our template. And that takes the form of a stripped back background JPEG and a stripped back editor and a print ready PDF. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to show you how we're going to strip back these files, these artworks, and just create those files that you'll need to upload into the system. Now, as you can see here, I've opened up the front cover or page 1 to our postcard. Now, the thing to do here is we need to decide on what elements of our artwork are going to be editable in the template editor. And then from there, we simply need to delete those elements out. So I can see here that we have our pink rectangles on the side here, pink rectangle at the top, and blue rectangle here. So the fact that we have these as branded colored items would tell me that these need to be editable inside the editor. So from there, we'll just delete those out of our artwork. Now the process of deleting these may vary depending on the software you're using, but effectively we just need to get them off of the page. So as you can see there, those elements are now gone. Now, of course, things like the title, this text here, again, these are all going to be editable by the agent. So we're just going to highlight all of these and delete them out like so and get them out. And again, with this text down here, this address and these bits of information through here would also need to be editable. So let's just highlight those out. Ooh, and get rid of those as well, bear with me. Okay, and we'll just get rid of those as well, so that's all deleted. And of course, our main image in the middle here will also need to be editable by the user as well. These black lines will be static, these won't be edited. So that's it, that is what we're left with. So like I said, just to recap, the idea is to go into the artwork using whether it's Illustrator or InDesign or whichever editing software that you are using to achieve this, and simply delete out all the aspects that need to be editable by the agent. So once that's done, there are now two other steps that we need to do, and that is we need to save the JPEG, which will be used as the background image inside the editor. And what we'll be doing once that's inside the editor is we'll actually be redrawing these editable elements back over the top of it. And that's going to create the environment where people can go in and start to make their changes. And you'll see that will start to come together. The next thing we also need to do is save this as a print ready PDF. So all of the elements that are editable inside the editor are then transposed into that PDF, which is then sent to the printer or downloaded by the agent. So of course, and this can vary depending on what software you're using, but let's have a look at our JPEG first. Now, one of the key things to remember here when you're saving the JPEG is that we want to save this as a 150 dpi JPEG. So let's go in and I'll just export that in this case here. Now I'm going to go into my page setup files here, which is currently empty. Let's set this down and we're going to select JPEG. We'll use the artboard in this case. Again, some of these settings may vary for you. Export, and we just want to make sure that we leave this set as RGB. And we want to go down and select medium 150. And that's that. Let's click OK on that. Everything else looks fine there. Okay, and that is our JPEG set. Okay, and next is to save the PDF. Now, as you may have just noticed there, I made sure the JPEG was saved as an RGB color format. The reason for that is because that is used solely just for screen use. So that will be used inside the website, inside the browser, while the user makes changes. Now, when you come to save the PDF, before you save that, you want to make sure, and if you're producing these for print, it should have been done from the very outset, make sure that your file is using CMYK color output. Now, this really is predominantly for print documents because obviously a print file needs to go as CMYK. If you're working on something like a web banner, for example, like something like a social media banner or a web graphic, then of course this would be JPEG. But for any print-ready documents that you're creating, make sure your document's using a CMYK color profile. before you save your before you save your PDF. Sorry. So let's go up to File, Save As. In my case, go back into here. We want to save this here. Ready for this? PDF, and I'm just going to go ahead for high quality. Turn these off as it's not really valuable. And now key factor in this is to make sure that we have trim marks turned on, and we'll want to set 3mm bleeds across each of those. There we go, that's perfect. Right, and once that's set, we'll go ahead and save that. Okay, I'm just going to jump into the file on my desktop here. Have a quick look. Okay, there's our JPEG, it's looking good. And there is our PDF with our bleeds. So that's got a very sort of quick overview on what we need to do there. So you can take that and run with that. What we have next over here is page 2. Now you'll need to do this for every single page used in that particular artwork. Now what I have here is page 2. And there is a little bit more involved in this. Now I'm going to run through this process and just show you again, same as what we did there. We need to decide on what aspects need to be editable and what we can leave in that's not going to be editable. Now, while some of this might not make sense for you the first time you're looking at this, if you want to go ahead and continue on to template editing part 2 field setup, some of what I'm doing here may become more obvious to you after you watch that. So after watching this, go straight on to watch part 2. And like I say, a lot of this stuff will start to make more sense. And as you start to go through this stuff will become second nature. Right, okay, so we're just going to run through that same process again and just ask ourselves, which elements do we want to be editable by the agent? So in this case, again, we know these 2 coloured sections up here need to be. So let's just start deleting those out. Now, obviously, this blue section, this big blue background around here, this is going to be based on the agent's branding. So we'll need to delete that. We'll come back to that one. Let's have a look at, obviously, our main body text on the left here. This all needs to be editable, including the agent's name and font. So we're going to get rid of all that text there. And we know that these all need to be editable by the agent as well. Our powered by logo. Now, there are 3 types of powered by logo the agents can choose. So we'll cover that off in a later video on how we set that up. That will be during, again, part 2, the template editing part 2 field setup. So we'll discuss how we can make certain fields have a list of selectable images. But we'll come to that. Let's delete that for now. Okay, the agent photo we know will need to be deleted. And then, of course, the agent details along the bottom here. So let's just see if we can grab that in one go there. Perfect. Okay, that's all deleted. And like I said before, we know this blue background here needs to be deleted as well. So we'll get rid of that. So what we are left with here is just a white page. Now, this isn't too uncommon, especially when you have large sections of background colours that need to be editable by the agents. It's worth bearing in mind that even if a certain aspect, let's say, let me just bring back these icons. Let's say, for instance, we don't want these icons to be editable, and we know we don't want them to be editable, but because the colour behind them needs to be edited, what it means is we'd need to redraw these back in the template editor and set them as non-editable fields. Again, might sound a bit much for now, but we'll cover all that off in the next video as well. But what that does mean is it means you would need to delete these icons out and, like I say, draw them back in the template editor and set them to be non-editable. And that is how we can draw in this editable color through there. So yes, in this case, what we are going to be left with here is a white square, but you would still need to go through that same process that I just went through earlier. So you would need to save your white square JPEG as 150 DPI. The reason for that being is, of course, is that this is set to the artboard size. So you still need to save your white JPEG. And again, go in and save your print ready PDF with the bleeds and crop marks. So yes, that is how we set this document up, or set the documents up. Next thing we need to do now is actually get these applied to the templates we created earlier, and set the basis for our template editing fields. Okay, so once you have your JPEGs and your PDF saved for your artwork files, the next thing to do now is jump over back into the back end of the website, come across to OPS here, and then up to templates, and then we're going to go down to the postcard template that we created in the video building your online storefront. So let's go ahead and click on the name postcards. And then we're going to go up to and work on with photos, simple design here. Again, let's just click on the name. And now we're going to look to actually set up each of the individual pages for our templates. So let's go ahead and give this a nice simple name. So I like to call mine page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. Depending on what you're working on, you could call it front page, back page, whatever it is to be easily identifiable. You have to remember that this really is for your benefit only, and the front end users, the agents, won't be seeing this. So let's go ahead. In this case, because we're working on a 2-pager, we're going to call this one front page. Okay. Display name, you can call it whatever you like. In this case, something descriptive. Again, you know, when you're working on a case like this, a front page, a front cover, back cover, front page, back page, just let's go ahead and give it something nice and clear and descriptive. Now we set our JPEG earlier to 150 dpi, so I'm just going to set that in there as well. Perfect. And now the viewable tag, we want to leave that ticked. And the inline editor, we also want to leave this ticked as well, but we are going to turn off the rotate option because this simply isn't relevant for what we'll be doing. And I'll be completely honest with you guys, going forwards with the sort of artwork and the sort of templates you're going to be working on, this rotate option I don't think will ever be really required for you. So what you're looking at here really is going to be your default setup for every page going forward. Now, once we've got that, let's go ahead and click Add. And we'll see now we have our first page there. Let's just go ahead and set up the environment for our second page as well. We'll call this the back page. Okay, and we'll go for the same setup for those. And add. Great. Okay, so that's our 2 pages set up there. Let's go ahead now and click into go to editor. So we'll be covering this section off in a lot more detail in template editing part 2, but for now there is something we just need to cover off just to wrap this part of the tuition up. So if you want to go ahead and click on page setup here, and what we need to do now is upload the print ready PDF and the JPEG that we created earlier. So let's go ahead now. We're working on the front page here. Let's click on browse, head over to my desktop. Page setup files, and in this case I'm calling page 1 here, so let's just go ahead and upload my PDF. You'll see the file name appears to indicate that that's gone in, and the same for the JPEG. Get that applied. And then the next thing we need to do is just come over to our PDF margin and we'll set that to 33. Now, the PDF margin is always set to 33 for any documents that are using trim marks. Now, the reason we do that is it actually offsets the fields inside the PDF to compensate for those trim marks. So if you start adding your fields in and you start to view your PDF preview here, and things that are looking a little bit off of position or things aren't quite adding up as they should be, then typically it's because this has been missed. So just make sure that we upload our PDF, our JPEG, and then we set the PDF margin to 33 if your document is using trim marks. And let's just go ahead and update that, update and upload. And what we can see now is we have this here, which is looking quite nice now. Okay, now the thing to remember here is I think this is looking like a decent size for this document, but what you can do is if I go ahead and just click finish page. Now the DPI conversion section here, really what this is doing is dictating to the system how big the preview or the background image should display. So let me go ahead and just give you a quick example. If I click edit on that and I decide to set that down to say 100, And we'll click update there. Let's go ahead and view the editor. And you'll see now that's looking significantly smaller. Now, what you're seeing here is ultimately what is going to appear on the front end for the user when they come to make their edits. So you can have a mess around with this. That DPI setting there doesn't really have any bearing on the output, on the final output of the product. Like I say, it's really just dictating the size of the editable area. So again, I don't think that there looks a bit too small for me. I think 150 looks okay. Let's put it down to, let's say 140. Maybe that will be a nice rough, nice size. Let's have a look at that. Okay, let's go ahead and click edit. Oops, sorry, no. Go to editor. Okay, that's looking reasonable. Let's say it's not too big, not too small, just right, which is exactly what we're trying to do here. So let's go ahead and just update this page as well to be the same. I'm just going to whiz through this now and just do for the back page here what I did for the front page. Let's go in and we'll go to the editor. We're going to go ahead and click on page setup, just upload our PDF, upload our JPEG, set margins and bleed to 33, and upload. Perfect. Okay, so that is it in a nutshell. Now, what that's done there, like I say, is just set the foundation and the basis up in order for you to now start adding your editable fields. So in the next video, template editing part 2, field setup, what we'll be looking to do is to start using this section here. And we're going to start looking at how we can then start to redraw all the different elements back onto the page and set them up using the editor so that way they can be edited by the users. Yeah, thanks a lot and good luck.